Some people say I'm crazy. I've been called crazy old man. I've been called the crazy dirty old man. I've been called the wise crazy old man. I've been called the crazy old white man. People keep saying I'm crazy. Well, to you people, thank you, because you're right. And this is the Crazy Old Man Network. If you're over 18, then I'm not talking to you. If you're under 18, I'm talking to you. You just may not want to listen to this show because it has some bad language in it, maybe sexual innuendos, and so I decided it's rated R. So, if you're a parent of a person under 18, you may want to consider not letting them listen. And I just want you to know, though, that your kid probably cusses more than I do anyway. Have a good day. Okay. I'm doing this show as a recording podcast because I just want to see how well I do, and then I can do the rest of them live. But it's been a long time since I did a show, and I'll let you, what I'm going to do, most of my shows will completely be ad-lib. I don't prepare for them. I have different recordings that I throw in, but it's everything is off the cuff. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about is Donald Trump. We're in deep shit because of him. He's a lying sack of shit. He's probably lied more since he's been, in the few days he's been president, than any other president has in their whole time in office. And the thing is, he's a bad liar. You can tell he's lying. And fact checkers are really busy because just about everything he says is a lie. And I think if he does get impeached, the guy, his vice president, probably isn't much better than he is. The election was really hard because Hillary Clinton would be as bad, maybe even worse than Trump. Hillary is a warmonger, so is Trump. Hillary is bought and paid for, so is Trump. And it was really scary. This is probably one of the scariest elections out there. And the thing is, if the Democrats had any intelligence at all, they would have let Bernie Sanders win. They wouldn't have put him in the shit can. Because Bernie Sanders was more popular than Hillary and more popular than Trump. And I think it would have been great if Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were in it. Anyway, I feel, well, some people ask me, you got such a negative attitude about Trump. You think the worst is going to happen. How can you be stress-free like you are? Because I don't let anything bother me. The reason is that the main thing that's going to happen is going to happen after I'm dead. Or maybe before I'm dead, but I know I'm dying. So I don't much give a shit. Donald Trump could be not only the end of the United States, but the end of the world. Well, the world's still going to be here. Humans will be gone. There'll be a mass extinction. And about the only thing left would be the cockroaches. And so God's going to have to start all over again with the cockroaches. Anyway, another problem with Trump is religion. And the gal that he's chosen for schools is rich and stupid. Why is it that most rich people are stupid? Maybe that's how they get rich, stupidity. But anyway, what I'm going to do is play the official Donald Trump anthem, which isn't really official. And we're going to see how old Donald does, and whoever it is does in this anthem.
I hate blacks. I hate spics. I hate Jews. I hate chinks. I hate Arabs. I hate Mongoloids. I hate lesbians. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. I'm voting for Donald Trump. You're looking kinda sexy, Donnie. You make me kinda hard, Donnie. Donald is the best. I wanna suck his dick. I love his red face and I love his juicy tits. Wanna cuddle up on the couch with you, Donald Trump. Maybe watch a couple movies or some Hulu. I wanna text you every day and night, Mr. Donald Trump. Maybe send a couple nudies. Hey, what you doing? I wanna lick you down head to toe, but I promise I won't touch the hole unless you want me. I saw you for the first time on the TV. I thought maybe me and you could get kinda freaky. Yeah, hit that G-spot, stick your pinky up my asshole. And if you like it, maybe you could try it too. If one finger ain't enough, we can go for two. Maybe use a gerbil or a gopher too. Gotta drill my ass with a strap on. Make me come without using my hands on. I love you, Donnie. You make me cry. Come in my mouth. Come in my eyes. Come in my ass. Come on the tip. Come on my back. Come on my tits. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. I love you, Donnie. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Let me see that ass, Donnie. I just want to feel your pulse with my pinky in your asshole. You can be my pinky ring from the dollar store. Donald, I know you want me. I know we're perfect for each other. I know you're alone and you need somebody who understands you, and I understand you, Donnie. You also need someone who knows how to hit that G-spot. That wife ain't doing shit.
Well, I thought that was apropos, whatever that means. I'm going to play a couple other things, but I'm going to talk in between them. Right now, we have a Congress full of idiots. Very few people in Congress are intelligent. They may be well educated, but education doesn't give you intelligence. One thing that gives you intelligence is life. The best education is life. Now, in my case, I went to college. I graduated with a degree in industrial management with an accounting major. But I learned accounting before I graduated from college. And I was self-taught. I really don't think college was that good. And when I had my own business, I would not hire a college graduate. Because you got to train them. It's easier to train someone that hasn't been to college. Because in college you learn theory, you don't learn actual things. And anyway, but I've noticed that most Republicans are ignorant too. Of course, most Democrats are ignorant too. See, we got a problem in this country. We've got two parties, or both of them are against the people. So my next thing is going to be the reaction to Trump's inauguration. And then after that, I don't know what I'm going to... Oh, yeah, I may talk a little more and then do President Donald Trump's first negotiation. So let's see what we have here.
The Trump TV series has a title, American Carnage, a phrase that appeared in today's inaugural address and has, of course, never appeared in any other speech by any other American president in history. You can think of a presidency as a TV series. 4 years is considered a successful run for a TV series. 8 years is considered a hit. The TV series that I wrote for the longest, The West Wing, lasted 7 years. What usually happens in the 5th or 6th year of a hit TV series is some audience fatigue begins to set in and the ratings start to turn down. That's what happens to presidents. They tend to leave at a low point in their favorability ratings. That didn't happen with the 8 years of the Obama TV series titled Hope and Change. It is usually the presidents themselves who speak the best titles for their series. The Obama series is one of the few presidencies that ended strong, with polling indicating the audience wanted more. There is much talk these days about how sharply divided American opinion is, but there is a clear majority agreement on approval for Barack Obama and an equally strong agreement about disapproval of Donald Trump. There will be polling next week to tell us if Donald Trump reversed any of that disapproval with his inaugural address today that seemed written to please only the 32% of America that currently has a favorable opinion of Donald Trump. James Fallows has written presidential speeches. He's a Rhodes Scholar who has written countless thoughtful articles, essays, and books. He has read every presidential inaugural address, all 57 of them. Today's was number 58. James Fallows tells us that all presidential inaugural addresses have common elements until today. This one was different. Unlike anything that any president had ever said in an inaugural address, James Fallows says that every inaugural address before today had, quote, sobriety, humility, conciliation, respect, and an opening to the tens of millions of Americans who wished the other side had won. Not today. Donald Trump Donald Trump presented a picture of the United States of America as a weak, crumbling country ravaged by crime, impoverished by losing the worldwide competition for jobs, and defended by a weak military, an almost uninhabitable place. He promised all of that would end today, and it will, because it was never true. Donald Trump's descriptions of America have always been false. It is the richest country in the world. It has benefited more from international trade than any country in the world. This country's poorest people would be among the wealthier people in many other countries of the world. Our crime rates have been going down for decades, and our military is the strongest and most professional, most lethal, and most effective on earth. The final line of today's inaugural address was, unsurprisingly, "Make America Great Again." Donald Trump has always told his followers that all we have to do to make America great again is to make him president, and he's been right about that, in that all he has to do to make America great again, in the eyes of his followers, is to simply start calling America great again. And America has been the greatest country on earth by every measure that Donald Trump and his followers actually care about. But Donald Trump has simply refused to call it great. Now that Donald Trump is in charge of fixing all the things that he says are wrong with America, you can be sure that he will soon start calling America great again, especially after he signs that massive tax cut that he's been promising to his family and all of America's richest people. Katie Tur is at the Freedom Ball. Katie?
Hey there, Lawrence. I got to tell you, this feels a lot like a campaign rally. Donald Trump talking about his poll numbers, talking about his win, asking the crowd what he should do. At one point, you just heard him ask the crowd if he should keep on tweeting. They overwhelmingly responded yes with cheers. There were some no's in front of me behind this camera, and Donald Trump said, "The enemy doesn't want me to keep tweeting," saying that it's his way to bypass the dishonest media. I got to say, it's interesting to hear the now president call those who disagree with him his enemy. Of course, that's not the first time we've heard him do that. He did it while he was president-elect as well during the transition. Whether many had hoped that Donald Trump would come out today and give a unifying message during his inaugural, a unifying message that would able to bring the two sides of this country together. It's been a very divisive campaign. It was a divided day here at the Capitol, with protests breaking out along the parade route. Some protesters trying to get onto the mall. We heard boos during Senator Schumer's remarks during the inauguration. At one point, right after Mike Pence was sworn in as the vice president, as he was shaking hands with the then former vice president Joe Biden, a man in the crowd right below the dais yelled, "Lock her up." This is about 200 yards, 300 yards from where Hillary Clinton was sitting. Loud enough for the cameras to pick it up, likely loud enough for Secretary Clinton to hear it as well. But I will say this, Donald Trump knows the crowd he is speaking to, and today he delivered a speech that was directly to his base. Tonight here, the same thing as at this inaugural ball. He was a little bit different at the luncheon, which was attended by a number of politicians, including Secretary Clinton. That's where he did thank her and talk a little bit about this contentious campaign. He's able to adjust to the room he's in. He's something of a chameleon in that way, and I think that's part of the reason during the transition you saw so many folks that didn't necessarily agree with him come out of his office and say that they had a great meeting. We saw Al Gore do that. They were talking about the environment. We saw MLK III do it as well, talking about how Donald Trump is hoping to fix inner cities and race relations. But then Donald Trump goes out and does things that are kind of contrary to, or very contrary to, what the spirit of the meeting seemed to be. He appointed somebody who is a disbeliever in global warming to the EPA, and right after that meeting with MLK Jr. III, he continued to get in a fight with the civil rights icon John Lewis. So what I'm saying here is this: Donald Trump knows what to say to the people that he is saying it to while he is doing so, when he's in front of that room. And I think that's why you're seeing such different tones in front of different crowds here today at the inauguration. Lawrence.
NBC's Katie Tur, thank you very much. He speaks to the entire nation. This is national coverage for every one of these words. And the idea that I'm going to do this speech for this room doesn't understand the audience at all.
He also doesn't understand that when you say something as a president, as an elected official, and you say you're going to do it, it's not a starting point. It's not like a bargaining chip. It's not like the first price that you offer. When you say things like, I'm going to eliminate ISIS or eliminate crime, like I seem to recall some people in the U.S. making a big deal about a certain president saying if you like your health care, you could keep it. Like that was the worst kind of like awful hyperbole in the world. You know, I mean, this is going to be some interesting to try and keep for him to try and keep these promises.
Shirley Sykes, to Donald Trump and his followers, it seems words have meaning only if Barack Obama says them or a Democrat says them. Then they must be held to those, every word, every syllable of the word. But when Donald Trump says, as Anna-Marie just mentioned, that he's going to eliminate ISIS and Islamic terror from the face of the earth, there won't be one person with any such thoughts left on earth. He won't achieve that, and no doubt will not be held to account for having said that.
Well, this is the new phase of his presidency, right? Because he's never actually been held accountable for either being factual or having to deliver anything, tangible results. And it will be interesting to see whether, in fact, he does think that he can bull tweet his way through the presidency of the United States. But yeah, it's almost a tenet now of the of Trumpism that, oh, he doesn't mean that. Don't hold him to that. But I got to say, I'm hoping that people in Congress were paying attention to that speech today, because it was dark, it was divisive, it was populist, it was nationalist, but it was not conservative. This was a guy who I think mentioned the word freedom once. Ronald Reagan mentioned it 8 times. He did not talk about shrinking government. He did not talk about working with other branches of government. They need to take that message seriously, because this is not the guy I think that they've been trying to rationalize was going to become president on January 20th.
Michelle Cinder, when you speak to people at the Trump team, do any of them know that the polling indicates 2/3 of America want Donald Trump to stop tweeting? And so when Donald Trump refers to tonight, as he did, the enemies want him to stop tweeting, the enemies in that description are 2/3 of America.
Well, here's the thing. The Trump team might want him to stop tweeting, and the aides might understand what people want. But Donald Trump is going to be led by his own interests, and he's going to kind of talk to this room. And if he feels as though people are responding in a positive way, and he feels like he can bypass the media, and that is something that he has done pretty well. People have been writing story after story and creating segments around his tweets, so he's doing that. If he feels as though he can continue to do that, then that's what he's going to do. So it doesn't really matter what poll or what survey comes out that says people really don't like this. As long as it works for Donald Trump, he's going to continue to do it.
David Corn, I want to get your reaction to the inaugural address today.
It's hard to go beyond what other people have said already. It was dark. It was divisive. There was almost no graciousness to it. There was also no compound sentences. I mean, it was one slogan, one meme, one theme after another. It was like a mashup from the campaign. And he went kind of darker when you I think rightly zeroed in on that term he used, carnage. And then he, again, I was standing sort of near Katie Tur in the VIP section, right behind the press section, and he went on about how America is sort of a hellhole, and the establishment is sucking the rubes in the middle of America. And all these VIPs around me who were big donors were cheering that on. It was kind of rather disgusting. They jeered Chuck Schumer when he talked about gender identity equality. But I think the big point here is Donald Trump still is a salesman, maybe a con man, but at heart he's a salesman, and he just wants to keep pitching. And I think one question is how long his diehard followers will believe the sales pitch if he doesn't deliver on any of it. I mean, it may be quite a while.
That is the question. I think we're going to be able to squeeze in a break now that I believe we've seen every one of Donald Trump's dance moves and Mike.
Okay. One thing I disagree with what was said in that is the United States really isn't great anymore. It's been going downhill for years and years and years. Ever since Kennedy was assassinated, it's been going downhill. Presidents have committed treason to become presidents. And they say we're the richest country in the world. Well, it's not the country that's rich. If you consider the debt, the country is probably close to bankrupt. It does have the richest people in the world living here, but they aren't doing it any good because they're making money overseas instead of here. Donald Trump sent business to China. And Hillary Clinton wouldn't be any better than Trump. In some ways, she may even be worse. So, we got a problem. The wrong person was running for president for both parties. Well, there weren't any Republicans that should have been president. But Bernie Sanders could have won the election. But the thing is, he got cheated out of the nomination. So, we got a problem. And Donald Trump really screwed things up with Mexico. So we're going to hear about that now. And we'll see what's happened there. So
are you tired of winning yet? Or are you tired of seeing America humiliated? People voted for Donald Trump for many reasons, both positive and negative. The negative reasons to vote for Donald Trump include hatred of Hillary Clinton, hatred of Bill Clinton, hatred of Barack Obama, hatred of Michelle Obama, hatred of Democrats generally. White supremacists like David Duke voted for Donald Trump because they heard enough from him to believe that he shares their hatreds. The positive reasons for voting for Donald Trump were essentially economic, the belief that Donald Trump would improve the economy. And central to that belief is Donald Trump's claim that he is a great negotiator, the world's greatest negotiator, and that he would negotiate new international trade deals with foreign countries that would give the United States huge new advantages over every other country that it trades with. We would have a newly powerful American economy created by the great negotiator, beating every other negotiator in the world. And according to Donald Trump, getting a better deal than all previous American negotiators would be easy.
Everybody wants me to negotiate. That's what I'm known as a negotiator. We need great people negotiating our deals for us. We have the greatest negotiators and the greatest business people in the world, and we use political hacks to negotiate our deals. Not anymore, we're not. Not anymore.
And today we saw the complete humiliation of Donald Trump, the negotiator, by the very first foreign leader he wants to negotiate with, the president of Mexico. Yesterday, President Enrique Peña Nieto, the 57th president of Mexico, said that he was considering not attending next week's meeting in Washington with President Trump as long as President Trump was insisting that Mexico pay for the Trump wall. Now, that was shocking enough for any exchange between the presidents of Mexico and the United States prior to Inauguration Day 2017. But then, the most relentlessly shocking person ever to live in the White House used Twitter this morning not to go around the news media, which is his claim of why he needs to use Twitter. No. This morning, the President of the United States used Twitter to go around his own diplomatic channels. And he said this: if Mexico is unwilling to pay for the badly needed wall, then it would be better to cancel the upcoming meeting. Now, the President of the United States used to be the most powerful head of state in the world. And if the President of the United States privately, through diplomatic channels, threatened to cancel a meeting with another head of state simply based on the agenda for discussion, then the other head of state would almost certainly agree to at least discuss the item that the President of the United States wants to discuss. It wouldn't mean the foreign president would have to agree to it, just discuss it. A couple of hours after the Trump tweet this morning, the president of Mexico tweeted this: this morning we have informed the White House that I will not attend the meeting scheduled for next Tuesday with the President of the United States. So, the greatest negotiator in the world lost in his negotiation with the President of Mexico before even having their first meeting. That is the single worst negotiation outcome any President of the United States has ever had with any foreign leader willing to talk to the President of the United States. And notice that the President of Mexico, in protocol terms, certainly, insulted the President of the United States by making the announcement publicly that it was his personal decision alone to cancel the meeting with the President of the United States. If it had been a mutual decision, there would have been a joint statement issued not on Twitter, but in standard diplomatic press release style. So, in the negotiations to force Mexico to pay for the wall, so far it is President Peña Nieto 1, President Trump 0. Now, let's go back for just a moment to that stunningly inappropriate anti-diplomatic tweet that Donald Trump set out this morning. He said if Mexico is unwilling to pay for the badly needed wall, then it would be better to cancel the upcoming meeting. So it turns out that the great negotiator has absolutely no idea what to say if the other side simply says no. The great negotiator is so lost if the other side says no that he has no idea what to say next. Now, great negotiators don't cancel negotiation meetings. They make negotiation meetings happen, and they get results that no one else can get in negotiation meetings because they are great negotiators. And in Donald Trump's first negotiation with the president of a foreign country, he was completely shut down by that president. How good of a negotiator are you if you can't even get the other side to show up at the negotiation? This is an international humiliation of the first order for the President of the United States. He said Mexico would pay for the wall, and he alone could get Mexico to pay for the wall. So if Mexico paying for the wall was key to your vote for Donald Trump, you voted for a lie. We told you this in this hour. Time and time again. Mexico would never pay for the wall. Mexico told you Mexico would never pay for the wall. The current and past presidents of Mexico told you they would never pay for the wall. And they were telling you the truth. And so, reeling now in the permanent state of shock that Team Trump seems to be in every day in the White House, Press Secretary Sean Spicer said, we'll get Mexico to pay for a wall by putting a 20% tax on goods imported to the United States from Mexico. I guess they don't want to use the word tariff because if they did, that might be just a little bit clearer to you that you, the American consumer, will be paying that tariff, not Mexico. When you tax Mexican goods sold in the United States, you are taxing them when they're sold in the United States to people in the United States. That's who's buying Mexican goods in the United States, and that's who's paying that tax. That is not Mexico paying for the wall. That is the taxpayers of the United States paying for the wall. The people who Donald Trump promised would never have to pay for the wall. And as soon as Sean Spicer said that, I sent out a tweet saying that that was an admission that Mexico won't pay a penny for the wall. And then, with the White House being bombarded with tweets like that and questions like that about forcing Americans to pay for the wall with a 20% tax on Mexican goods, someone at the White House suddenly realized how profoundly stupid that is, as well as profoundly dangerous, since it would be the first shot fired in a trade war that could go worldwide, a shot that could reverberate around the world and affect many other countries, and very quickly start a North American recession, followed by a worldwide recession. And so the White House backed off the idea. NBC's Peter Alexander caught up with Donald Trump in the White House tonight for a moment, and he had this exchange with him. Peter Alexander said, since there was confusion about the 20%, do you just want to clarify? Donald Trump said, what 20% is that? Peter Alexander, the 20% about Mexican imports tax, Donald Trump, we're going to tax people coming in. Look, we cannot lose our companies to Mexico or any other place and then have them make the product and just send it across our border free. We're going to put a substantial tax on those countries, okay? And that's why, by the way, they're all coming back, okay? Without that, they don't come back so easily. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. None of this is going to happen. None of it. Congress is not going to legislate a 20% tariff on Mexico. This is simply a president who has no idea how to negotiate with another country, making tantrum-like noises that have no meaning. Our best hope tonight for the world's understanding of this new version of the American presidency is that heads of state and stock markets around the world grant this president no credibility in moments like this. We can only hope that the world gets used to not believing Donald Trump, not believing that he will do the horribly destructive things that he says he will do. We need the world to get used to Donald Trump reversing himself on some of his craziest and cruelest ideas. He has said many times that the dreamers have to go, the kids who were brought into this country without documentation when they were toddlers, some of them infants, before they could walk, grew up here, went to our public schools, went to college, considered themselves American. Donald Trump has said that they all must be deported. They must leave the country. And then last night, he said this.
The children who were brought here, as you know, by their parents, should they be worried that they could be deported? And is there anything you can say to assure them right now that they'll be allowed to stay?
They shouldn't be very worried. They are here illegally. They shouldn't be very worried. I do have a big heart. We're going to take care of everybody.
They shouldn't be very worried. After 2 years of terrorizing those kids and their families, Donald Trump says they shouldn't be very worried. I doubt the words of Donald Trump have made a single dreamer here in the United States any less worried tonight than last night. But President Enrique Peña Nieto is absolutely not worried about Mexico paying for that wall. And there is nothing that the self-proclaimed greatest negotiator in the world can do or say to force or coax or negotiate the president of Mexico into paying for that wall. And so tonight, the world has seen the president of Mexico stand up to the president of the United States and just say no. An absolute no. And they saw that Donald Trump's reply to that was nothing. The great negotiator couldn't think of a single word to say back to the president of Mexico's defiant no. The whole world was watching. The whole world learned something about the great negotiator today. Tonight, NBC News has learned from a Trump administration source that Donald Trump will speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin by phone this weekend. And so, in the new Trump world order, the president of our peaceful ally across our southern border is regarded more like an enemy by the president of the United States than the president of Russia. Vladimir Putin is a crude and cruel dictator who is not very smart, as modern statesmen go, but is smarter than Donald Trump in every way that matters for a president. And we have every reason to fear what might happen in that phone call, because Vladimir Putin is a much, much better negotiator than Donald Trump. But then, who isn't?
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.
Okay. I don't think there's anything in there I could disagree with. Donald Trump has proven that he's a blithering idiot. And I think most people in this country are wishing that instead of Hillary running against him, it was Bernie Sanders. Because I think Bernie Sanders could have won it. And I think if he ran as an independent, he could have won it. Only one person I can think of that won as an independent, and that was Teddy Roosevelt for his second term. Because he didn't get the nomination for his party. So he ran as an independent and won. But anyway, the way I look at it, we're in deep shit. And people wonder how I can have a smile on my face all the time. I can be happy all the time when I know that we're in deep shit. Well, I learned one thing from my dad. Well, I learned a lot of things from my dad. The biggest thing was, if you can't do anything about it, don't worry about it. And that's what keeps me going. I don't let anything bother me. And the way I look at it, when the shit hits the fan, I may be dead by then or close to death. So I won't give a shit then. But the thing is that the children and the grandchildren are going to suffer. And I saw something the other day about the end of the world by 2030. And it's possible. I also saw something about being a depression this year. And I wouldn't be surprised. Stock market was really high. But I can't remember for sure because I wasn't around then. Wasn't the stock market high before it hit before the depression? And then all of a sudden it fell? I think so. And another thing, the stock market is artificially high. Anyway, I think I'm going to quit now. And next time my show will be live. I just, I haven't done a show in a long time, and I figured I'd do it this way first. And so, I want to thank you for listening. And I will see you when I see you, hear you when I hear you. I want you all to have a good day, good week, a good month, and a good year. Most of all, I want you to have a beautiful life. Thank you for being you, and TGYA, thank God you're alive.